Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Fast Lane Car Top 5 list. And Nathan, what are we doing today?
We're doing a top 5 list of vehicles we miss. These are vehicles that are no longer in production, or for some reason or another, we're no longer able to drive.
Did we drive these cars?
Every single one of them.
We actually drove them.
Yeah.
We're not just pulling this out of our...
No, because we don't have footage to cover for that. So.
That's right. So it's cars that we've driven, and it's top 5 cars that I think, and Nathan thinks, are great cars that are no longer with us.
All right, well, let's just get right into it, huh?
Yeah, all right, let me do number 5. Long before there was the HR-V.
Yes.
The CX-3.
Yes.
There was the SX4, the Suzuki SX4.
Now, I know what some of you are saying, wait a minute, that car really wasn't that much fun to drive. You know what? It was a good car. It was really good up here at high elevation, going into the dirt and going into the snow.
I remember I did like one of my very first off-road videos in the CX4, and it was very popular.
SX4.
SX4, in the SX4, in the SX4 because we got it muddy.
Yeah.
We learned that people like seeing cars get muddy.
Yeah, and you know, it's a funny thing because that car really is the forebearer of all these new small cars like the HR-V, and we enjoyed it. And you know, unfortunately, Suzuki just couldn't stay in the United States, so we no longer have an opportunity to drive that vehicle.
Yeah, you know, sometimes it's about timing, right? Right car, wrong time.
Yep.
Now, what was cool about that car is it had a little button that put it in. It was normally, and actually it's still made in the rest of the world.
Yes,
and
yeah.
sold. It's
yeah.
just not sold here in America.
That's right.
There was a little button that you could go from 2-wheel drive to 4-wheel drive, and it was remarkably capable. It was a nice, tidy little package, so you could get 4 people in it. If you got kind of stuck with the front wheels, you could push the button and engage the rear wheels. It was really cool.
Yeah, they actually had a manual option, which I enjoyed, and you could just shift it around. And yeah, it wasn't fast, but it handled pretty good. And yeah, off-road it did really well.
So Suzuki, we respect the fact that you were here long ahead.
Yeah, and we miss you.
And we miss you, so please come back. All right,
Yeah.
number 4, Nathan.
If you guys, I'm sure you're going to agree with this on this one. It's the Toyota FJ Cruiser.
Yeah, that car was one of my favorite all-time off-road vehicles, and I'm going to go right to the chase. I'll tell you what I loved about it. I love the 3 wipers.
It was cool. The way the glass was set up, the way the entire vehicle was built was really weird for Toyota because they rarely jump into that world of making something really aesthetically cool based on what the fans want.
Yeah, I think that was a problem, right? It was style over practicality, not substance, because it was very good off-road.
Yeah, I mean, think of it basically as a forerunner, you know, in terms of off-road ability. And a lot of guys out there are still absolutely tearing them up and turning them into some of the hardest core off-road machines you can imagine.
So what I think killed it was those clamshell doors.
Clamshell doors, and the back seat wasn't very usable for tall people. Also, the rear pillar was seriously about that wide, and you really had a hard time seeing out of it.
Yeah, it was kind of very claustrophobic, and you couldn't get into it. But as an off-road vehicle, it was, you know, a direct competitor to the Jeep Wrangler, and we don't have enough of those now. And it's a shame to see that go.
That's true. And also on the street, actually, I thought it drove better than the Wrangler, but that's just me.
Yeah, and then it was also thirsty.
Yes.
Yes, and if you look at those cars on Craigslist right now, they are hard to get and they are expensive. You could pay as much as a new one for a used one.
Pretty much. I mean, they're
In
really,
Colorado.
in Colorado, they're really collectible. They have great power, and yeah, so they're a little thirsty, but for what they are, they still represent one of the best off-road vehicles you can go out and get.
And I like that little meter that had the 3 things in the
Yeah,
center.
yeah,
It had
that's-
it showed you what angle you were at. I think it had an altimeter in there.
Altimeter, and
Yeah.
yeah, it was a really cool vehicle, and we miss it very much. But we're going to have to move on to number 3.
Yeah, number 3, man, they should have never built it. I'm glad they did because me and you actually went to the track, Willow in California.
Yeah, Willow Springs.
Yeah, and we're talking about the Chrysler 300, but not the regular 300.
No, the SRT8.
The previous generation.
The previous generation, and it had that big bad Hemi. It was fast. It was mean. It was the best 300 I felt they ever built.
Yeah, I think at 460 some horsepower.
Something along those lines.
Around
yeah.
there, right around there, and just made absolutely no sense to be on the track. Right, you had this big family sedan that was like tearing up the racetrack next to the Challenger, next to the Charger, because we had all 3, I think.
Yeah, we did, and you know, it was a little cumbersome. But for the guy who likes to go and just go as fast as possible in a straight line and have a fairly comfortable ride with an amazing exhaust note, you couldn't beat it. It was a great car.
Now, I think, if I remember right, do you remember the story? We were on our way to the track, and there was a certain designer in a car ahead of us.
Yes.
The designer who actually was in charge of many of these cars.
Yes.
I think his first name is Ralph.
Ralph or something like that.
His last name is Gio.
Something like that.
And we were going to the track, and remember, we were trying to keep up with him.
Yeah, it was strange. We were unable to keep up with him. For some reason, his car was just going slightly faster than our car, no matter how fast we went.
And by slightly, you mean like 100 miles an hour
No,
faster.
I don't. I'm not saying that on camera. Not even on that camera over there. No. No,
Sorry,
but it was
Ralph.
oh, he's just looking at it going, yeah, all right, click, change. But it was a really, really great car. But let's go back to off-road vehicles, because this next one is another one I really am having a hard time with the fact that it's gone, and that is the
Nissan Xterra, another Jeep competitor that is R.I.P.
I almost bought one. I loved them. They were great off-road, and they were half decent on the street. Once again, another vehicle that was thirsty, but it could hold family, and I have a small family.
And it had stadium seating?
It had stadium seating. It had a decent amount of cargo room. It could tow a decent amount. It actually could do things better on the street than either the Wrangler or the FJ Cruiser, but at the same time, it could keep up with them if you got the off-road, what was it, the Pro 4?
Pro 4X,
yeah. If you got that version of it, it was great off-road. I took one at Moab, and I had a great time in it. It was a fantastic vehicle, and I'm sorry it's gone.
Now, for you who are wondering, stadium seating means that second row is higher than the first row, so you kind of have this stadium situation where you're looking over the first row passengers or driver, and you can actually see out of it. And it's a badass car when you lift it.
Yeah.
Nissan and the aftermarket community made a lot of parts for it. So you could lift them, you could really go crazy off-road with them. And you could use it as a family car. And other great thing about it was Nissan built it forever.
Yeah.
Which means that they recoup their money in the tooling. So by the end of its life cycle, you can get them relatively
inexpensively. And here's a tip. Unlike the FJ Cruiser, which is going up in price right now at least,
Xterras,
the Xterras are a dime a dozen, and they are absolutely worth the investment because they share almost all the same components that the Frontier has, and you're able to get a lot of aftermarket stuff, and you will be able to get stuff for a long time.
I think it died eventually just because it was so old.
Well, that, and also it just doesn't get very good mileage, and they just start, if you look at the sales charts, the past few years have been dropping off, but they're not building a replacement, and that's the thing that really sucks.
Yeah, Jeep has that whole off-road world to itself pretty much now.
Yeah, I mean, if you're thinking about with, a beefy frame, off-road capable vehicle, there aren't that many that compete with it anymore.
No. All right, number one, Nathan, you go for it.
It's the Mazda Speed 3. It's a vehicle that, according to Mazda, they're not going to build ever again, which sucks.
What were they thinking?
I don't know. They came out and they were almost proud about it. Like, no, we're far too mature to be building this vehicle. And I say, what?
What? And this is when Honda is bringing not only the SI, but the Type R. Mm-hmm. Ford is doing the RS. I mean, hot hatches are hot, and they're walking away from it.
And they have this beautiful, beautiful Mazda 3, the new one, which has excellent, elegant lines. Put a turbo in it, throw it out there. Tell you what, just take the name off there, but build it, please. I mean, I can't believe they're saying no.
So, worst torque steer ever.
Oh, yeah. Seriously. Yeah, it was really bad.
I have a story about the car. I was flying in from Europe from driving, as it happened, I didn't know when I went to the trip, a Lamborghini Gallardo, right? Mm-hmm. And there was a snowstorm raging, and I knew I had the Mazda Speed 3. So I get in the car, and I'm terrified to drive it because I'm thinking this thing has incredible torque steer. It's going to be a goat on ice, right?
Right.
And I drive it home, and I'm like, wow, I'm really doing well. I must have gotten really good learning how to drive behind the wheel of a Gallardo.
Yeah.
Take it home, I'm jet lagged. I wake up like at 2 in the morning, and I'm like, was I really that good, or did the thing? So I have to go outside, and of course Mazda was kind enough to put snow tires on it.
Mazda is one of the few car companies that will actually give us vehicles during winter time that have snow tires on them. And the exact opposite happened to me. So I'm driving it, and I thought I was being careful. And this was when it had summer tires on it, but I went to a place that had some ice. It's not too far from a Monument, which is south of Denver. And so I went on, and I made a slight turn, and I started accelerating, and I kept going straight, and I was trying to figure out why I didn't know I was on ice. So I'm doing this, and I'm accelerating, I'm doing this, and then I'm accelerating. Yeah. It was a really, really rough time. When I realized I was on ice, I thought it would have been really great if they had snow tires. It's the one time I wanted it where they didn't have it.
But just a fantastic car.
Fast.
Fantastic exhaust note. It had pretty much tuner built into it,
Yeah.
let alone aftermarket tuning.
Really
right?
good suspension too. I mean,
Really
that
good
thing around the
suspension.
track was quick. Once you got used to the torque steer, and they did have this electronic system that mitigated some of the torque steer. I went up against the SRT4, if you remember the caliber, and I absolutely blew them away when I was on the track. It was so much faster and so much easier to drive the Mazda.
And it had one of the things that's really rare nowadays, a functional hood scoop.
Yeah.
Where it actually
Sucked in air instead of like being some sort of costume accessory.
All right, Nathan, as always, right?
Yeah.
We love to give you guys a bonus question.
Absolutely.
Actually, a bonus car we miss.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do it as a question. What do you think is the car that we miss the most?
Nope, it's not what you think. Mitsubishi, the Evo.
Exactly, the Evo. I'm stunned. You know, that is one of the most iconic cars. Talk about a car that has race pedigree, that has street cred, that has, you know, the classic recipe for making a fun and fast car, where you take just a basic sedan, stick a monster engine in it, in this case, make it all-wheel drive, and just, you know, tear down the drag strip, down a rally course, down a race course. It does it all, and Mitsubishi walked away from it. Yeah,
I know there are financial reasons and whatnot, but well, not to go into it, there is one thing I want to mention. I drove the MR version, which was the last Evo I drove, and that was a few years back. And I took it to a racetrack that is for what we go to every once in a while. It's called High Plains Raceway. And I got my fastest lap in that car, ever. So
yeah, it's just so tossable,
fantastic.
So much fun. Okay, the car shell itself is crap, right? The doors.
I think it's good looking.
No, I'm not saying look-wise, but the doors are tinny. Everything looks like it was built 20 years ago,
and
right?
It pretty much was.
And there's
yeah.
cost cutting everywhere, but just as a pure performance car, right, where you take the DNA of what should be a rally car.
Yeah.
It has it all. And I know there's a new one out right now, the FE, the final edition.
Yeah.
And you know, if I had whatever that thing is, like just under $40,000 or around $40,000, I would seriously think about laying down the money to buy it, because I think that car is going to be worth some cash.
Yeah, hopefully Mitsubishi, now that they're structured and working with Nissan, hopefully they'll come out with something in the future that'll replace it, but we can only hope.
All right, Nathan, so we've done the top 5 cars that we miss. What's going to be on next time?
Top 5 cars we don't miss.
That's right, if you're wondering about the cars that have gone away and we give, well, very little thought to, but today we gave a lot of thought to. Come back next time where Nathan and I are going to talk about the top 5 cars that, well,
we do not miss. Hey, and by the way, we know you guys have opinions, God forbid. Below, please let us know. I mean, we do read comments. Let us know what you think and add some cars to that list.
And thanks for watching. Remember, check out tflcar.com for more news, views, and of course, top 5 list and everyday reviews.
Howdy folks, Nathan Adlin here with
Andre Smirnov.
TFL Truck is bringing you something really cool, the top 5 off-road vehicles from the factory.
That's right, you can walk into your dealership and get these trucks and they're ready to go off-road.
That's right. Now we're not talking about just, you know, slamming on a set of larger tires. We're talking about some comprehensive upgrades to make these vehicles very good off-road.